Are you ready, Susie?
I'm so ready, Mike.
So
Dr.
ready.
Mike.
Don't you love that expression? Just so ready. All right then. You may remember me from my television shows in the 1980s and 90s, and now I host two regularly live streamed virtual magic shows. One is a showcase for some of the greatest magicians in the world, and the other is a talk show featuring some of the most inspiring conjurers of our times. Welcome now to Magical People. And welcome everybody to
Fantastic intro.
Live. Look at that. We've got, which way am I pointing? We've got Susie Moloney, um, self-titled horror maven, but we'll chat more about that in a few minutes. So glad you can all join us this time. Um, it's probably by mistake that you've joined us. I think you were just browsing Facebook and came across this. So if it's by mistake, stick around. If it's not, stick around anyway. Sue,
Absolutely.
thank you so much for joining me this day.
Thank you for having me. It's been a long time.
Wow. Do you believe how long it's been?
Yeah, we were just infants the last time, so 20 years.
Yeah, right. Uh, if infant you mean short in stature, I'm probably the world's shortest man.
Oh,
And but still somewhat tower a little bit above you.
it's
And
true.
people watching this were actual size. So
I've
if
always
you
looked up to you, Dr. Mike.
uh through no choice of yours, I'm sure. We were chatting, those of you who joined in a little bit late, we were joining before we came to air or chatting. And I love the term you used, horror maven, on, I think it's your Facebook page. I took this from somewhere. Wife, mother, lover, wife, murderer. No, I've added that in. Screenwriter, recovering novelist. Yes, that is from Facebook. I did make a shoddy. This is for all of you out there. Yes, my
Oh, and there's
notes.
notes on it. Very well
My
done.
well, for you, it's typed up. Normally, it's chicken scrawl on an index card. Yes. So, you've done so much since we last hung out. I briefly want to recap for people out there. It's purely selfish and nostalgic, actually. I believe you used to do camera on my original TV show from the 80s and 90s,
No, I
but
never did camera. I cut it. I cut the show at the board.
oh, you're kidding. So, oh
No,
wow.
I never
And
did do the
yet,
cameras.
and yet, I seem to remember you being very naughty behind the camera. I
Oh, yes.
remember one show you were trying to distract me. I'm doing my, and it was a kid's show, by the way. So it was inappropriate, but no one saw, but it was really funny. And if anybody can get me laughing at inopportune or inappropriate times and moments, it's you. It's you, Susie Maloney. And so, yeah, we go back that far. And you wrote a pilot for me because that show had been running, it ran in all 9 seasons, but I think 5 years in, I don't remember exactly, we decided, let's try to sell this thing. So you wrote an incredible pilot, and we went. Is it an hour and a half, 2 hours west of Winnipeg, Portage la Prairie, I think.
That's right, where they had a network there. I,
Yes.
was
I
it the
wonder if they
beginnings of
still.
City TV? I think that was the original start of City TV.
Oh, wow. No
Yeah, I believe that's
kidding.
what that was. Yeah, and we they were open to pitches. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
we had such a riot doing that.
We did. There was a lot of, and if you can't have a riot doing stuff, there's no point, kids.
That's
There
right.
really
Don't
is
do
no
it.
point. Um, I've got just a whole list of stuff that you've done, and mainly the books, but we'll talk about the screenplays and other things in a moment. I want to share with everybody. because I did put this together. It's just a few seconds of some of your books. Check it out. And now my wife, coincidentally, has one of your books. I think it's The Dwelling.
That's
Um,
my favorite.
in paperback, and she loves it. Needless to say, let's say it anyway. It's not needless to say. She does love it, and very very thankful for knowing you, honored.
Oh,
When she bought it, she didn't know. I don't think she knew we knew each other, and so it caught her eye. And then we had to take her to the hospital because it hurt a great deal. No, the book caught her eye, and I said, Susie Moloney, that was Susie Schledwitz back in the day. I
I was
wonder.
wondering if you
Yes,
remembered
yes, I
my own.
remember. I remember. And she goes, "You know that author, you sick person?" No, she was impressed, and she'll probably join us in the after chat. She's in another room. No, she's in another room watching our little cat, so our cat doesn't jump all over everything here.
Oh, I want
And
your cat to come in the after show too.
oh, yes, yes, always. So I don't know where to go with this. People looked at your books. We know now that that was The Dwelling is one of your favorite books
It
that
is
you've
my
written.
favorite, yeah. It's my
Why? Why?
favorite novel. I think by that time, not only had I come into my own as a writer, I felt that I think I was probably as a novelist, I was at my peak then. And it was, I think, kind of the first time that I really put a lot of my own life into a story. And it's a haunted house story, something that I'd love to read. And so I always knew I would write one. And in particular, this book was written at a time when I renovated my own house and had been looking for a house to buy. So I spent a great deal of time in a realtor's car looking at people's houses. And I love being in other people's homes. You can tell so much about people by going through their bathroom cabinet and taking things, like and just taking stuff, right? Take them home with you. And every house has a vibe. Every single house has a vibe. And oftentimes, of course, it's the people that put the vibe in there, but we would go see places where there was no one in there, and you could feel the way the house felt. I had a
Absolutely.
friend whose house is absolutely haunted. And I remember always feeling like there was something else in that house. And one night we were there and we were all playing music. We're all musicians. And I decided to shoot just open fire
Yeah,
with
yeah.
my camera, just a section of us playing. And when I looked at it later, orbs were just flying. Does everybody know what an orb is? It's
Yes.
yeah, they were just flying everywhere, including one really big one that kept going back and forth. And it just convinced me that yes, houses are really haunted. There's always a spirit of something left behind. And at the house that I had purchased after all this time with the realtor, uh, had a ghost in it, absolutely, but an incredibly benign, actually better than benign. It was a loving ghost. It was the elderly woman who died there. She had raised her whole family, four children, in a two-bedroom house, and you could absolutely feel this love. And when I was renovating, pulled up all the linoleum. It was actual linoleum, and she had, I guess, in the final days, been hiding money everywhere.
Oh, wow.
And so because I knew, there's a kind of a karma, for want of a better word, attached to this sort of thing. I got in touch with the kids and gave them all the money back. And I think that that's probably why that house was warmly, benignly haunted as opposed to viciously, demonically haunted, because I returned the money. So yeah, so
Wow.
dwelling was just
Wow.
a lot of my own experiences in a book. And my marriage is breaking up, so there's awesome divorce story in there. It's told through the eyes of three people who own this one house, and how the house haunted them in particular. Everybody got their own kind of haunting from it. And
Wow.
it's told through the eyes of a realtor who kept this house kept landing back in her file like a bad penny. That was a very long explanation for why that was my favorite book.
I love it. And now you're going to laugh because since we've known each other, I've run the gamut of metaphysical stuff. There was a fairly long period where I did what I call ghost busting, where people would call on me to go into their homes and feel or figure out what the heck is going on there. I also do still mediumship and channeling and all that, believe it or not. Um, Maybe choose not to believe it. In any case,
Totally believe
I
it.
found that 80% of the time they are benign. They just want attention or they're reaching out for something. In some cases, they were dearly departed that the families knew. In many or most cases, they weren't. They were the inhabitants that felt at home and wanted to stay there. In which case, if they weren't doing any harm, any physical harm, if it was just energy or vibes, we would just leave them there, or I would give the people who hired me the option of living with it. And you can do stuff if you're into this. People other than Susie, you can burn incense, certain kinds of incense. You can sage. You can burn sweet grass to kind of create a screen, if you will. We do that, Sue and I, my wife, because sometimes we pick up on, now this is going to sound more dramatic than it is, psychic attack. So if someone close to us isn't feeling well that day, I in particular will feel it and I'll know who it is, or if they're feeling angry or whatever. And sometimes I'll have to create a screen and burn some incense or whatever. My guest next week will talk probably in depth about that, Luna, who is the daughter of a world famous magician, but that's another week. So yeah, I love haunted houses. There are so many interesting homes and things in Winnipeg in particular,
Yeah.
and you can feel that. That's probably one of the reasons why I still feel at home in Winnipeg. I felt at home as a Montrealer. I visited because my first wife, who I think you knew, I'm not sure if you did or not, was
You were
originally from Min.
unmarried when I knew you well.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
So, yes, lots of good stuff in Winnipeg and source material to write.
There's so many haunted houses. I took my aunt a few years ago, quite a few years ago. I took her on one of the ghost tours here. And there was I of course wanted to see a ghost. I wanted to be touched by a ghost. There was one place where a hooker for, I'm sorry, I hate that word, but a sex worker uh,
Yes.
had been kind of violently murdered in this part of the stroll near Upper Fort Garry. Do you remember where that? It's just a little park, really.
Okay.
And she would, when you walked through there, our guide said that sometimes women would get poked or pinched. And so I was just back and forth, just pinch me. Come on, pinch me, pinch me. I wanted so badly to get
Ah,
pinched. And it didn't happen. But when we went, part of the tour is through Downlevert House.
yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's supposed to be quite haunted as well. And again, benignly haunted. Part of it was in the basement. It used to be like a bunkhouse for young kids, mostly boys, who came into the city to go to school. They were sponsored by Downlevert, I think he was the lieutenant governor or something like that. I don't
Yes.
know.
Yes.
Isn't that terrible? But
I
anyway,
know.
and
Same.
so I was walking through there and I got such a jolt of electricity through my body that I thought no one's going to believe that that just happened. And apparently that is one of the ways that the boys make themselves known. They're like impish. And so
Oh,
they
sure.
they give
Absolutely.
you a jolt, and like a magic handshake, one of those
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
get a jolt.
Oh.
And so it felt exactly like that, as if I'd, put my finger in a socket. It was so exciting. I
And
was very
shocking.
excited and I was
And
shocked.
and so yeah, there you go. Now there's a place in EK, I believe, because I've been in touch with some of the people there as a way to try to get back to Winnipeg. No, and it's also a house of sorts, and they do readings there. They hold various events. And are you familiar with that
I
house?
am. I'm trying to remember the name of it. But again, another prominent Winnipeg citizen.
Yes,
Um, Arthur Conan Doyle, this is our claim to fame. Arthur Conan Doyle went there for a séance. And
yes,
that house was very well known for having big séances at the time when they
yes.
were very popular. Was that the end of you should know this, Dr. Mike. Is
I
that
do
the end of the
actually.
1800s
I
when
do. I
séances
do.
were
And someone in our audience, Micah Cover, is involved with Sherlock Holmes stuff. He's from California and often comes on the show as well. So yeah, and Poe, we're big Poe people as well.
Oh, nice. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
That's good company.
Yeah, yeah. So
What
that
is the name of that
house,
house? That house is,
uh, is it with a G maybe? I
you
want
know,
to say,
there was a novel written about, Catherine Hunter wrote a novel.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And she didn't, I mean, she renamed it. I don't think she did like a shout out. It wasn't a historical novel or anything.
Hysterical. No,
It's a
historical. I
hysterical novel.
bet you people watching this afterwards, once I edit it and put titles in and whatnot, maybe some people will speak up or inform us. I'm so tempted to go on Google right now
I know,
and
me
check that
too.
out.
I actually picked up my phone and then I put it down and I went, that's not what we're doing right now, Susie.
Exactly, but so tempting, so
And
very tempting.
get thee behind me, Satan phone.
So I also want to share with somebody, with you in particular, but the people out there as well. I found another video, and it's not embarrassing or anything. It's one of your screenplays. Everybody, check this out, Bright Hill Road.
Are you all right?
Lucky for you, we have an empty house. How long do you think you'll stay?
A few days, maybe?
Of course.
This building is quite old. It's been many things over the years.
Bright Hill Road has a long and complicated history.
It's like there's a different person inside me. She's relentless. She just wants to drink.
Bright Hill Road has been a way station for all kinds of people. And some of these people are doing penance for their sins. No names.
I think all your troubles stem from your inability to see things as they really are.
Yes, you really are.
Bright Hill Road does not pry or judge.
This place, okay, this whole place is something. Something's not right.
Beautiful, beautiful. And believe it or not, Sue and I loved it. I don't know if we saw it on Netflix or one of those providers, but we had to watch it because we're fans of Susie
Yes.
Moloney. So I want to ask you cliche questions, but I'm trying to avoid so much. What inspired it? How did you get to do screenwriting and all that sort of thing? I do have cheat notes here, but I'd rather just kind of channel all this stuff and just go with this. So, what did inspire this play, this screenplay?
Well, Marcy, the character, she had been kind of, I write most of my stuff. I start with a character. I usually know who I want to talk about. And Marcy had been kind of floating around in my head. I had there had been another, sadly, workplace shooting at the time. That Marcy came to me. This was long before I wrote this screenplay, and I thought about the kind of trauma that would bring out in a person. You know, the this idea that survivor guilt, for instance. And
Yes.
Marcy is a character with a great deal of survivor guilt, and she can't really take it. And instead of taking accountability for something, she bolts. And so she had been kind of just floating in my head in that state where there's this woman who, you know, had this tremendous trauma and was coping with it as best she could. But one of the things that she did was bolt. And someone had gotten in touch with a friend of mine and said, I'm looking for a horror screenplay. And the friend got in touch with me and said, do you have anything? And I said, yes. But did I have anything? No.
No.
And so I quickly, Marcy was still there. I had kind of a rough idea of what I would have done with her in a book. And so I came up with a one sheet, which is a kind of a pitch doc, and turned it in, and they went, yeah, we want to do this. And so then I wrote it in a month.
Wow, I believe that. I believe that absolutely. I've written 300-page books in about a month. It's just a question of timing, like working out your timing and
Yeah,
scheduling and
it's
stuff.
called 16-hour days.
Yeah, yeah, really. Someone in our audience, Michael, said Hamilton House. Could it be
Yes,
Hamilton
that's it.
House?
That is it. Well done, Michael. McClure, I'm assuming. Well done.
Yes.
Yes, that is exactly what it is. You were only one letter off in the dictionary. You said G.
See, my mental
You're
capabilities are.
metaphysical. Yeah, you're a medium. I mean, you
I'm
could have come up with
actually
the whole name.
I'm a small medium at large, but you know. So we did love that. And you know the clip we just showed, you know how sometimes they say, oh, in those clips those are the best parts of the movie. If you see the whole movie, it's not as good. Only, you know, but it was all good. And it reminded me a little bit of The Shining. It reminded me of a lot of horror writers of that ilk where it's suspenseful and it's building and it's like, oh, nothing. Oh, and then it happens, of course, when you least expect it. And one of the things I do love about your writing, but I know, hopefully you've heard this from others, is your descriptive writing. And Bram Stoker, I don't know how many people are familiar or have actually read his novel, the original novel. He goes on for pages describing the countryside, describing things. And I think we've all read books and novels where they go into great detail. But there's symbolic reasons for that, folks. There's reasons why there's all
Yeah,
those
they had
very.
no TV.
Well, besides that, and so just like that, the movie that we saw, of which he wrote the screenplay, reminded me of that because there's a lot of visuals, there's a lot of stuff going on, and on a subliminal level, at the very least, it builds terror, it builds suspense, and yeah, we enjoyed that. I
Thank
had
you
to
so
talk.
much.
Well, it's true. I have nothing to gain. $50 maybe? No, I have
50.
nothing to
That's what
gain
we
by.
agreed on.
Yeah.
You know, I have
Um,
another one. I have another one. Where is it airing in Canada? In Canada, I think it's on
a dry spell, is it called a dry spell?
no,
Is
it's
that the
called Romy. Romy
Oh,
is on Tubi in the US,
okay.
but I think it's just a super channel in Canada.
Oh, okay. We'll have to
Yeah, so
check
it's
that
a
out.
cable channel. Yeah. But yeah, Tubi in the US called Romy, and it is my most recent. Um, and yeah, I'm working on something now that will be shot maybe next year.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
you know, it takes a long time to film is very much like books that way. Holly will know this. It takes a long time for something to come out.
So which do you prefer? Obviously, I'm going to take a guess that because you've kind of put off to the side writing novels per se, are you liking more the visual arts? Are you liking more doing film rather than books or what?
For a while, it wasn't writing books that sent me to film. It was publishing industry, which I was with the big houses, and it's not always. And I had a my current agent. I love my current agent, but I had an agent that was really manipulative, and I just felt like it wasn't. it wasn't conducive to my creative life to stay in
Yes.
publishing. And plus there came a time around 2006 or 7 where publishing revenues, like what we made, advances dropped by 70%. And so where I had literally raised my kids as a full-time writer, that was not going to be possible. Film, you can write them faster. You make maybe a little less money than you do on a book, but you can do two a year. I couldn't write two books a year. That was just not in my mental capacity to do that.
Yeah.
And you feel like when you write horror, it feels a little like you're not appreciated as a writer. You're
Really?
not in those inner circles.
Oh.
And it's changing. It's really changing. But that also bothered me. I've always considered myself to be quite a talented writer. And you just don't get your due when you're writing something that genre. And it is changing.
Hmm.
Um, thank goodness. And but I'm back at it, aren't I? I'm writing a new book. And so
Exactly. Very
yeah,
cool.
but I won't stop writing film. And I also write television, so I don't know. And recently, my husband is kind of a big deal playwright, and we wrote a play together. Uh that will, be it's already contracted. And it's horror. It's very loosely based on Jack the Ripper. And we reset it in the 70s, my favorite era, because it was the golden age of serial killers.
Oh dear. I'm getting images of the Zodiac killer and all. I created a magic trick based on the Zodiac killer, which has aired somewhere. So yeah, yeah, yeah. On a superficial level, I want to say I've noticed this as well. You were the first novelist to appear on the cover of Chatelaine magazine in Canada, for those not from Canada, and you were also featured on the cover of Scarlet magazine.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Been
Very
on
cool.
two covers. There they are. Are they over there? Oh, there's
Uh,
one. There you
can't
see.
tell. Can't tell. Stick around, Susie, because we're
I
going to do
will.
the after chat now. But I want to thank everyone who's come to see us this time, this week. And so thankful that you joined us, Susie. Do stick around. Don't go away.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. Wow, I did that rather quickly too, didn't I? Thank you all for joining us this Saturday. We're here every Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific time and 4 p.m. Yes, New York time. Holy cow, and 9 p.m. UK time. We'll see you all really soon. Thank you all for joining us.